Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco. Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. It's just Marco here once again, and I am here today to review another Goosebumps book. Even though we're going to review one on Tuesday, I need to go ahead and review another one because Safi is working on something today and she wanted me to, do something, and I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, I watched a movie yesterday, but I don't want to do a review of it, and so I just thought, whatever, I'll do a Goosebumps review. And this is actually the first one in the series, and it's called Welcome to Dead House, and it's very popular with people. It's one of the ones that people, when they think of Goosebumps, they think Welcome to Dead House, Stay Out of the Basement, The Haunted Mask, Night of the Living Dummy. Those are the top ones they think of. And a couple others too, obviously. I know. So this book, for starters, it was another experience like with The Snowman, Beware the Snowman, where I was completely glued to the book, and I was just like I was glued to every page. I wanted to know what happened next. I paid attention to the entire book, like I wasn't ever zoning out. I wasn't having trouble getting into the book. I was totally into this book, and I think that it's a testament to how good this book is. This is definitely one of the best ones in the series objectively, and I think it feels like more of a complete work. Like there's other Goosebumps books, and apparently other people had their hands in writing them or maybe editing them, and there's all these things that he doesn't get to and all these plot holes. This is a book where, for the most part, it is a complete thing. It is a complete story, and there's not really many questions left to answer. It's just a very solid book. It's also, I would say, one of the darker books that I've read in the series so far. I mean, it is really it's kind of gross, it's kind of uncomfortable, because what's happening is, okay, let's just get into the plot, because I don't want to, I want to get into this plot. I want to, get right in there into this fucking 2-hour book. It was like a 2-hour audio book listening experience. Totally worth it. Totally. So it's all about this family, and they move to this new house in Darkness Falls, which is a great name for a town, because nobody would ever want to live there, and it's also a creepy town name. I mean, everything. This book starts off creepy. I mean, they start off, and it's like, okay, we're moving to Darkness Falls, and the sky in the town is gray. Like, they're like, it's really sunny and really nice, but then we came to this town, and the sky turned gray, and just everything was gray and ugly, and just, ugh. I mean, it is really a nightmarish story that gets into, that this book gets into. And it starts off, though, with, like, this really good, simplistic, family moving to new house, and, some of them like it, some of them don't like it. What's going to happen? How are they going to adapt? And one of the things, it's really hard to talk about this book because it's so much different than the TV episode. I mean, I think that the TV episode, like, kind of, I don't know what they were thinking with the TV episode. Like, they totally threw away the book and just said, no, we're going to do what we want to do, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And you know what? The TV episode is nowhere near as good as this book. And I think that that's another surprising thing too. With a lot of these books in this series, it's really been an easy decision to say, the books are not anywhere near as good as the episodes. The episodes improved on the books. They did all these things better. But this is a situation where the book destroys the episode on a nuclear level. And so the main girl, you have Amanda. She's memorable. She's a good character. She's not like a one-dimensional, typical Goosebumps character. You have Josh. And now Josh, let's talk about Josh. He's the brother. And wow, is he's like he's kind of a jackass. I mean, he's really mean, and he's really just, I don't know. I don't like his attitude in this character. But the thing is, he has a personality. He has a character. He's not just this cardboard cutout like in other Goosebumps books. So I can at least appreciate that. But right off the bat, he already does something stupid. Well, I guess not really stupid, but he's kind of... He refuses to go in the new house to take a tour. And by the way, they were given the house via inheritance from an uncle that they never knew. And that's all I'll say about that. And so Josh, he hates it. He did not want to move. He's really pissed off, and he disappears. And they're looking for him with the real estate person, Mr. Dawes, and they find him in the graveyard. And now this is the part that's really stupid, because it was like R.L. Stine was kind of reaching for something to be scary. So Josh is running around this graveyard, and then it's no, he's chasing someone, or no, something's chasing him. And then you turn the page and it's oh no, he's chasing something. And it's just, the way that it's written is so terrible. It's it was a little confusing to me, what's going on here? And then they're oh, he's chasing the dog, Petey, because the dog ran away, and he just went and followed the dog to make sure it doesn't get lost. It's understandable, I guess. It was just kind of a stupid scare. It is really creepy, though, because there's a reason that the dog ran away, and it was running from its owners, and I think that that's kind of one of the dark parts. And we'll talk about that later, because I think you guys, I think you know where I'm going with that. So once again, Josh, he's just acting like a jerk. He does not want to be here. He won't even take a walk. He won't even do this, do that. He's always got to add some sort of a problem and make a fuss about whatever. Amanda is just kind of dealing with it. She's just whatever. But she starts to have these sightings, and she thinks that they're ghost sightings. She sees a face in the window. She sees a girl on the staircase. I mean, there's some really creepy parts to this book, such as these kind of visions and dreams that she has. And something really interesting that R.L. Stine does too is that he says that she has a really wild imagination. And to me, that's kind of interesting, because I guess you could kind of question her at first and be oh, maybe she's just overreacting. Maybe she's, I don't know, maybe it's not what she thinks it is. And then she has this dream, and it is sort of like a dream from, like, Say Cheese and Die, or like an image from that book, where her and her family are sitting at a dinner table, and they are skeleton people, and they are eating bones, and they're just picking up bones and crunching down on them and just eating these bones. And it was a really creepy sequence. I really liked that part. And of course, here's one of the biggest problems with the book: the parents. The parents are not like in the episode. See, I can see where they had the ideas in the episode to, like, improve on things, because there are a couple of improvements that I would make, especially the parents are terrible. They're kind of jerks. They're like, you two need to go take a long walk, because, we need to do stuff around here. And it's like, why? It's like, I don't know. They're not very nice. They say that, like, ghosts aren't real. It's so bizarre in these Goosebumps books. You have these idiot parents, and they just can't fathom, or can't even, like, begin to, like, just say, like, oh, maybe you did see a ghost. Like, it's an old house. Maybe you did. Like, no, they can't do that. They gotta be like, yeah, you're being bad, and you're doing this because you're mad that you moved. And I just am like, ugh. And the parents never get any better. In fact, they start arguing with each other over little tiny things, and they act so horribly in this movie. And it's like, in this book, I mean, it's like, it's really, like, kind of cringeworthy, because you think about these parents, they're making this situation worse. They're sort of adding to the horror of this book, because they're just not acting like nice people. Like, moving is already terrible enough, and they're making it worse. And so the two kids, they go off, and they walk around, and they find these kids. And the majority of the book is actually just them hanging around these kids who are kind of creepy, and, they have something going on with them for sure. And they are led by this kid named Ray. And Ray is a kid who, we'll talk about him later. Let's just say he's not one of the better Goosebumps characters in terms of, like, how effective he is at doing his role in the story. So they play with these kids, and they do baseball games with them and stuff, and it kind of, like, goes on like that, where it's just, you can feel that there's something off. All the kids run home as soon as the sun comes out, which is hilarious, because it's like, usually kids get really excited when it gets nice out so they can play and have a better experience. Oh no, these kids, they all run back home, and there's really something off. And something else that's really creepy is that they start to, like, crowd around the main kids, and Mr. Dawes actually has to come into the picture and be like, what WTF are you kids doing? And then he's got to, like, kind of rescue the main two kids and make sure that, nothing happens, because something, you can definitely tell something is happening beneath the surface. And then what happens, and I'm just trying to kind of distinguish the book and the episode, because the episode is so much different. Okay, then the dog goes missing, and that is the really unfortunate part, because it's like, okay, where is the dog? Where, like, because we know what happens when, You have a horror story and a dog runs away. It's usually the dog's dead. Well, the parents, they don't really care. They're like, oh, let's have some sandwiches, and then we can go around and look for the dog. And then the dad's like, no, who cares about the dog? F the dog, who cares? And I was like, God, this character's trash. These parents are terrible. So the kids, they just end up going and looking for the dog themselves. And I'm just like, oh God, these parents suck. They suck. And what do you know? The kids find that the dog is in the graveyard, but there is something off about him. And this is where the book gets really good. The book starts getting very descriptive about, like, the dog has this gross smell and, this and that. And it turns out that the dog is dead. And it's now a zombie dog. And they end up, I think they end up just going home or something. I can't really remember. And then when they get home, their parents are like, oh, there's a block party going on, and we gotta go. And the kids are like, oh, okay. And so you see how trash these parents are? Like, you see, they're not to the level of the Abominable Snowman, where they're like divas who throw temper tantrums at their kids like Karens, but they are pretty bad. And so they go to this block party. I think the kids go back to the graveyard, or maybe the kids went to the graveyard after the parents left. I can't remember the order of things. After they discover the dog, they find out that he's dead, essentially. They see that in the graveyard there is an amphitheater, and it's kind of like underground a little bit, and it's really creepy. I mean, this book gets so unnerving as it goes on, and it gets really uncomfortable, and like you don't want to be there because it's getting too close for comfort. And that's when they're met by Ray. Yes, that's when they're met by Ray. See what I mean? This is why I don't like doing those like recap reviews where you just recap the book or movie or whatever. It's because this kind of thing always happens unless you have like extensive notes. So Ray reveals that he is the watcher for the group of zombies in the town. The town is all comprised of zombies, and it's all because of one mysterious event that they never really get into at all. So apparently they had a plastics factory, and one day there was some sort of an accident or something, and yellow gas came out of the factory and spread throughout the town and turned all the people there into zombies. And every year, once a year, they bring in a new family. The family moves into the dead house, and then they kill the family, and they I guess they just drink their blood, and then the family becomes a part of their town as zombie people too. And then the next year, the same thing happens again. And it's really dark because you see like all the gravestones of these kids, and you see that like, I mean, it's really like, it's hard to picture, because what they do is they take the people to this amphitheater, and then I guess they all just like, I don't even know, like, how do they kill them? Do they just like tear open their flesh? Like, it's really dark to picture, and it's really terrifying too. You think about, these are all kids, and they took these kids and they just killed them while they're alive, and that, like they didn't put them to sleep or anything. They just straight up ripped these families apart and fed off of them, and it's like, ugh, it's really bad. And they always have to kill dogs and pets first, because pets can detect that they're zombies. So that's why they had to kill Petey, and they killed him really quick. I mean, it's not like in the episode where you think, oh, he's alive somewhere, and then at the end there's a twist. It's like, no, they kill him real fast, which is another dark thing in the book. And then Ray is trying to attack the kids because he's like, I really fucked up by letting you guys see the graveyard and see the tombstones and the amphitheater. And then they have this halogen flashlight. They use it to shine the light in his face. And this is where it kind of turns into like Indiana Jones, because they say that his face melts and his eyeballs go backwards, and he collapses to the ground and turns to dust. And again, very creepy imagery, very good descriptions. It's just very solid. A lot of these books where I've given them really high grades, sometimes like they don't even sound like they're good, but then you read them, and the experience of reading them is just so perfect. You can't even put it into words sometimes. This is kind of one of those times, in my opinion. They run home, they try to find their parents' phone number that they can call. Maybe they left a phone number to call, and that's when Mr. Dawes shows up. And he says that all the bad guys in the town tried to attack him too. And he takes the kids in his car on a ride. And you're kind of suspicious, because it's like, where are the parents? He's not showing them their parents. He's saying like, oh, they're at the amphitheater in the graveyard. And then they get to the graveyard, and we see that Mr. Dawes has a tombstone there. He is a zombie too, and they get away from him in a very intense, close call way. And then they go to the amphitheater, and they see that their parents are tied up, and the zombie people are gonna tear them to shreds and eat them. And then I guess get the kids later. Maybe even use the parents' zombies to lure the kids in somehow. But the kids figure out there's this old tree, and it blocks the sunlight somehow from entering the amphitheater. And they figure out, let's just knock this tree over, and then the sunlight will kill the zombies. And they knock the tree over, and of course it destroys all the zombies, and then the family gets away. But that's not the ending. The ending is really Amanda looks up at the house, and she's kind of, I guess she's hypnotized in a way. And it's like, oh no, are they ghosts now, and the ghosts are trying to keep her there? No, something even worse has happened. And we see Mr. Dawes, and he is talking to a new family, and they are being shown the dead house. And then Amanda says, that's the house I used to live in. And then the family drives away, and it's really creepy because, and I know I've said creepy a lot, but it is creepy because that's what another ghost person said to her earlier on in the book. She said, I used to live in your house too. And of course, this means that the family was in fact killed by these zombies. the time they were killed, who knows? Because they were pretty, like, on point with the time. There were never any, like, lapses in time except for when the kids went to sleep and they had nightmares, and I think that's when Petey went missing. So, yeah. The major flaws of this book would be, number one, the description of what happened with the plastics factory. I really think that there should have been a better, more thought out explanation in terms of how do we know that it was this plastics factory? How do we know that, like, they don't say a person at the factory accidentally did this and that. Like, they just say randomly, this factory had some yellow gas and it smelled really bad and turned everyone into zombies. Oh yeah, I remember how they get away from Mr. Dawes. That's another gross, creepy part of the book. So they throw the flashlight at his head and it rips open his skin and he's got like gray flesh and a gray skull and like, ugh. Oh, it's so gross. I mean, this book is gross. That's the thing. It is gross. It is descriptive. It is scary. It is a solid story. It is very entertaining. It's perfectly written. I mean, despite the couple of flaws, it is perfectly worded and written. Like, there's nothing that I'd cut out for stupid sensitivity readers who need to grow the fuck up. Like, there's nothing like that in the book. Another flaw would be the parents. In general, I just think that they could have had more to them. Like, it would have been nice to at least see them getting entrapped by the bad people. Like, it would have been nice seeing them at this block party, and then all of a sudden the parents are like, oh shit, our kids were right. That would have been scary. And then number 3, there needs to have been a time that we could see where the people got turned into zombies, because I cannot pinpoint a time. These kids get away from the zombies every single time. When they're close to being killed, they'll say, oh, then they do this and they get away. So, there's no place in this book where you can say, oh, maybe there they got killed, maybe there they got turned. Like, I think that that's a huge flaw, because it kind of ruins the twist. The twist is good. It's not very complex or anything, but it is a classic twist. They just needed to add a part to make it better, I guess you could say. So I give this book an A+. I mean, it's classic. It's perfect. I think that it's pretty flawless. Like, in terms of like a reading experience, I would definitely read it again. And there wasn't one moment where I got bored. There wasn't one moment where I was like, ugh, I have to read a Goosebumps book today. Ugh. The whole book was just a special experience. So I really, really liked it. I would highly recommend this book. It's way better than the episode. It's way scarier than the episode. It's way darker than the episode, too. I mean, it's very dark for a kid's book, and it definitely feels like it's way different than the books later on in the series. Like, what was that crappy one where the kids went to outer space and then the aliens danced, and I was so mad that it made me look like a jackass on camera. What was that one? I don't know. It was one of the ones from last year, that one of the new releases that came out. It was like Screaming with the Stars or something. And it was so terrible. It was so childish and goofy and dumb. It was the complete opposite of this book. And I think, like, even though he's writing books for children, kids still read Welcome to Dead House to this day. So if kids are able to read that and they're fine with it, then why don't you just match the tone of that book instead of adjusting the tone and making it lighter and goofier? Like, Welcome to Dead House is probably... It's probably going to be in the top 3 of the series. I'll say that much. So anyways, please like this video, comment, tell me what you thought of this book. Because as you can see, it was hard to even like talk about the book. There wasn't a lot to say except for like just commenting on the various things that happened. There wasn't like a lot of points to discuss like in other books. And then please subscribe to this channel if you'd like to see me review more Goosebumps books. Goodbye, everybody. See you soon.